It is my pleasure to announce that you have been chosen Father of the Year.
What's his name? Robert Reed.
Yes.
Who played your husband.
Yes.
We now know that he was gay at
Yes.
the time he died.
The Brady Bunch house may be the most famous haunted house in American television because the actors who once lived in it all seemed to get caught up in a curse. The perfect TV father had to hide the fact that he was gay, and then his death was surrounded by rumors about HIV. Marcia Brady, the face that made a whole generation of American men fall for her, fell into cocaine bulimia and depression. Even Cindy, the most innocent little girl in the house, grew up to become the most controversial cast member. But did that curse touch everyone? Or did only the people living at the center of the Brady house have to pay the price, while the ones who only passed through got off a little easier? Let's look back at these 11 faces, from Mike, Carol, Alice, the 6 Brady kids, to Sam the Butcher and Cousin Oliver. Because the Brady Bunch was not just a family sitcom. It is a then and now photo where the longer you look, the more cracks you see behind the smiles. Number 1, Robert Reed as Mike Brady. Let's start with Robert Reed, the perfect father of American television, and also the man who carried one of the most painful secrets inside the Brady house. Robert Reed was born in 1932. When the Brady Bunch premiered in 1969, he was 37. Before that, he had already made a name for himself with The Defenders, a serious legal drama from the 60s. The role of Mike Brady brought Reed into the living rooms of millions of American families. After Brady, Reed kept working. He was still nominated for Emmys for Medical Center, Rich Man, Poor Man, and Roots. He still acted in dramas, still had respect in the business, and even taught Shakespeare at UCLA late in life. But every time the public saw him, they still pulled him back into the Brady house. In real life, Reed had been married to Marilyn Rosenberger in the 50s and had a daughter named Karen. On screen, he was the father of 6 kids. In real life, he was also a father, but his private life was almost always locked away. And the biggest secret was something Hollywood at the time did not forgive easily: Robert Reed was gay. Eve Plum, who played Jan Brady, said she did not know that until after he died, even though she was already grown. Florence Henderson understood it more clearly. She once said Reed was the perfect father, the perfect husband on screen. But in real life, he was an unhappy man because he had to live 2 lives. If that had come out back then, his career could have collapsed. That was not a scandal. That was the price of being a man on American television at that time. And Reed was not a cold man. He once gave the young actors Super 8 cameras, took them to New York and then to London on the Queen Elizabeth II. A man who was only bitter would not have done that. Reed resented the Brady cage, not the children inside it. Robert Reed died in 1992 at age 59. The direct cause was colon lymphoma, and HIV was listed as a contributing factor. Eve Plum later said she was sad that the media at the time turned his death into a sensational story. Leave a comment below to honor and remember him. And get yourself ready, because this is only the first low note in the main cast. Number 2, Florence Henderson as Carol Brady. Florence Henderson is remembered across America as the gentlest mother on television, but her own childhood began in poverty, alcohol, and a mother who walked away. Florence was born in 1934. When the Brady Bunch premiered in 1969, she was 35. Before becoming Carol Brady, she already had a real stage career, had appeared on Broadway, stood out in the musical Fanny, and had even guest hosted The Tonight Show. Brady did not create Florence Henderson's talent. The series did something else. It turned her into the image of the TV mother American audiences would remember for decades. The role of Carol Brady changed her life in a very specific way. The Brady Bunch only aired for 5 seasons from 1969 to 1974, but reruns and reunion shows kept Florence in front of audiences long after the series ended. From 1974 to 1996, she was also the familiar advertising face of Wesson cooking oil. After that, she kept appearing on game shows, talk shows, cooking shows, and in 2010, she even joined the TV dance competition Dancing with the Stars. Carol Brady did not end her career. It became the brand she carried for the rest of her life. But Florence's real life did not begin in a bright house like the Brady home. She was the youngest of 10 children. Her father was a poor tobacco farmer and an alcoholic. Her childhood home rarely had electricity or running water. When Florence was 12, her mother left the family to work in Cleveland and never came back. Florence married Ira Bernstein in 1956, had 4 children, and divorced in 1985. When she played Carol Brady, she was not just pretending to be a mother on screen. She was a real mother, really working, really raising children, and she worked through all 4 of her pregnancies. She also wanted Carol Brady to have a job because she did not want the character to just stand around the house as a mother who had Alice do everything for her. Behind that familiar smile were stage fright, postpartum depression affairs, divorce, hearing loss, and heart disease. Later, Florence met John Kappas, a hypnotherapist who helped her overcome her fear of performing and her fear of flying. She married him in 1987 and stayed with him until he died in 2002. Florence Henderson died in 2016 at age 82 from heart failure. Just 3 days before she passed away, she was still at Dancing with the Stars to support Maureen McCormick, her on-screen daughter Marcia. Number 3, Ann B. Davis as Alice Nelson. Ann B. Davis did not need a big scandal to be remembered. She simply disappeared from Hollywood in a way so peaceful that it was stranger than any scandal. Ann B. Davis was born in 1926. When the Brady Bunch premiered in 1969, she was 43 and played Alice Nelson, the Brady family's housekeeper. Before putting on Alice's blue uniform, Ann already had a very solid career. She became famous in the 50s as Charmaine Schultz, usually called Schultzy on The Bob Cummings Show. That role brought her 4 Emmy nominations and 2 Emmy wins. Before the whole country knew her as Alice, she already had a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The Brady Bunch did not make Ann famous for the first time, but it made her famous in the most lasting way. To older viewers, she might still have been Schultzy, but to most of America later on, Ann B. Davis was Alice. She once said that if people only remembered her as Alice, she did not mind, as long as it was not some Alice the Axe Murderer kind of thing. After the original series, she still returned for many Brady projects, and in 1994, she even co-wrote Alice's Brady Bunch cookbook. Starting in 1976, Ann moved away from Hollywood to live in an extended family community with Bishop William Frey and his wife. She went to services at St. Helena 2 times a week and studied the Bible on another day of the week. In her final years, Ann's health clearly declined. She had knee pain from arthritis trouble, moving her hands, poor eyesight, and had to use a strong hearing aid. In 2014, she fell at her home in San Antonio, suffered a subdural hematoma, and died at age 88. In 2026, Maureen McCormick still remembered Ann on what would have been her 100th birthday. Number 4, Barry Williams as Greg Brady. Do you still remember this big brother? Barry Williams was born in 1954. When the Brady Bunch premiered in 1969, he was only 15. Before that, Barry had a few TV roles in That Girl, Mission Impossible, and It Takes a Thief. But Greg Brady was the role that stamped his name into America's memory. The Brady Bunch took Barry from being a working child actor to a familiar teenage face across the country. After the original series, he did not cut ties with Brady. He came back for reunion shows, specials, A Very Brady Renovation, The Masked Singer, Dancing with the Stars, and the audio show, The Real Brady Bros with Christopher Knight. In 1992, he released his memoir, Growing Up Brady, I Was a Teenage Greg, a book that stayed on the New York Times list for more than 6 months. Barry did not reject Greg. He turned Greg into a career that lasted. And fame did not mean wealth. The young cast's contracts only paid rerun money for the first 10 reruns of each episode. In the final season, their highest salary was $1,100 a week. With 22 episodes, even the highest paid person made only a little over $24,000 before taxes, agent fees, and family expenses. The rerun money ran out very quickly after the show finished filming. Greg Brady was much more famous than the amount of money Barry Williams actually received. After Brady, Barry kept working like a real working actor. In 2001, Actors Equity fined him more than $52,000 for joining a non-union tour of The Sound of Music where he played Captain Von Trapp. Barry's personal life has also gone through many chapters. He is now in his 3rd marriage to Tina Mahina. Before that, he was married to Isla Mary Matt, had a son named Brandon in 2003, and then divorced. He also had a daughter, Samantha, in 2012 with Elizabeth Kennedy. This year, Barry is 72, still going to fan events, still telling Brady stories, and still staying in touch with his old castmates. Number 5, Maureen McCormick as Marcia Brady. Maureen McCormick was born in 1956.
Nothing.
When the Brady Bunch premiered in 1969, she was only 13. Before that, she had done commercials for Mattel Kool-Aid and had appeared in Bewitched, My Three Sons, and Camp Runamuck. But Marcia Brady was the role that locked her name into America's memory. After the show ended in 1974, Maureen began struggling with bulimia, the eating disorder that made her eat and then force her body to throw it back out. Then cocaine entered her life. Maureen once said she was caught up in cocaine for about 6 years after Brady. Along with drugs came depression parties, nights at the Playboy Mansion, Sammy Davis Jr.'s house, an unwanted pregnancy, and even a time when she traded sex for drugs. Addiction slowed down her career, broke apart her public image, and made the name Marsha both a gift and a shadow. By 2004, her life took another hard hit. Her mother died of cancer, and then she had to place her brother, who had an intellectual disability, into a care facility. Stress made her weight become a problem again. In 2007, she spoke publicly about bulimia on Good Morning America and joined Celebrity Fit Club, where she lost 34 pounds. The turning point in Maureen's life was Michael Cummings. She married him in 1985, which was also the period when she began getting sober. They had a daughter, Natalie, in 1989. By 2026, Maureen and Michael celebrated 41 years of marriage. In 2008, Maureen wrote the memoir, Here's the Story: Surviving Marcia Brady and Finding My True Voice. The title almost tells the whole story, surviving Marcia Brady and finding her real voice again. This year, she is 70 sober, still connected with Brady fans, and still showing up at nostalgia and charity events. Number 6. Christopher Knight as Peter Brady. Christopher Knight did not just play the middle son in the Brady family. From the time he was little, his paychecks helped his own family pay the rent. Christopher Knight was born in 1957. When the Brady Bunch aired in 1969, he was 12. He shot the pilot when he was only 10, and the series ended when he was 16. On screen, he was Peter Brady, the middle son often stuck between confident Greg and younger Bobby. In real life, Knight did not go into acting because he dreamed of being a child star. His father was an unemployed actor in New York, and he was brought into the business as a way to help the family earn extra income. That is the part audiences usually do not think about when looking back at a family sitcom. Peter Brady is a happy memory. Christopher Knight was working from childhood. In 2025, he said that without the money from the Brady Bunch, his family might not have been able to survive. That money helped pay the rent, carried him to age 18, and then launched him into life. His childhood was nothing like the clean Brady House on TV. Knight described his family as chaotic and poor. At one point, there was not enough milk at home, and his father told his mother to feed the kids every other day. Later, Knight said that if he had children, he would try to keep them away from show business until they were 18. He also asked a question worth hearing: aren't parents the ones who are supposed to work, not the children? When the Brady Bunch ended in 1974, many viewers were sad. Christopher Knight felt relieved. He wanted to go to school. He returned to school in the middle of 11th grade, just in time to catch up with student life, and later studied at UCLA. A boy on TV finally got to be a student in real life. In the late 80s, Knight left acting and moved into technology. He once said he had attention deficit disorder as a child, and computers helped him write, spell, and do things that had been very hard before. He worked as a sales manager, then founded 3 technology companies, including 3-dimensional graphics television signal receivers and educational technology for children. After that, he moved into furniture, joined Christopher Knight Home in 2012, and expanded the lifestyle brand in 2018. But his private life pulled him back to television. Knight met Adrienne Curry on The Surreal Life. At the time, Curry was 23 and Knight was 48. Their relationship was filmed for My Fair Brady. They married in 2006 and separated in 2011. After that marriage, Knight found a quieter life. He married for the 4th time to Cara Kokonis in 2016. Florence Henderson, who played his mother on screen, once approved of Cara and welcomed her into the Brady family. Knight lives with Cara in Hermosa Beach and once said the recent years have been the most worthwhile period of his life. This year, Christopher Knight is 69. He still does the audio show The Real Brady Bros with Barry Williams, still appears at the Brady Experience in 2026, and still stays connected to his Brady past. Number 7, Eve Plum as Jan Brady. Eve Plum was born in 1958 in Burbank, California. When the Brady Bunch premiered in 1969, she was 11. She played Jan Brady, the middle daughter, stuck between standout Marsha and little Cindy. But Eve was not a kid seeing a camera for the first time when she walked into the Brady house. She had been acting since around age 6 after a neighborhood agent suggested she try out for commercials. Before Brady, she had done commercials including Barbie, and then appeared in Gunsmoke, Lassie, Family Affair, Mannix, The Big Valley, It Takes a Thief, The Virginian, and Here's Lucy. The Brady Bunch changed Eve's life with a label that was very hard to shake Jan Brady, the most famous middle child on American television. The line, Marsha. Marsha became a pop culture joke for decades, but for Eve, it was not always funny. In 2026, she said that when she saw that line parodied on Saturday Night Live, it felt like being teased on the schoolyard. What is worth noting is that she did not use that to attack the Brady Bunch. She made it clear she does not hate the show and does not hate the cast either. Another misunderstanding is money. A lot of people think the Brady kids lived comfortably off rerun money. Eve said the contract only paid for the first 10 reruns of each episode, and that money ran out before she graduated high school. She also said actors do not always have as much money as viewers think. But Eve's family made one very smart decision. In 1969, when she was only 11, they bought a beach house in Malibu for $55,300 US. In 2016, that house sold for $3.9 million US. Eve was also labeled as someone who did not want anything to do with Brady anymore, especially because she did not appear in the Brady Bunch Hour in 1976 because of another work commitment. But in reality, she still returned for The Brady Girls Get Married, The Brady Brides, A Very Brady Christmas, and The Bradys. After Brady, Eve deliberately chose roles that went against Jan. In 1976, she starred in Dawn Portrait of a Teenage Runaway, playing a teenage girl who runs away from home and gets pulled into street life. After that, she appeared in Little Women in 1978, kept doing theater painting, visual art, and many years later still appeared in projects like A Very Brady Renovation. Eve's private life has been much quieter than many of her castmates. She was married to Rick Mansfield in 1979, then divorced less than 2 years later. Since 1995, she's been married to Ken Pace, who works in business and technology. In 2026, at age 68, Eve Plum released her memoir, Happiness Included Jan Brady and Beyond. She used the book to correct many misunderstandings. She did not get rich from reruns. She does not hate Brady. She does not want to trash the cast, and she does not want to be remembered forever by one complaint. Number 8, Mike Lookinland as Bobby Brady. Mike was born in 1960. When the Brady Bunch premiered in 1969, he was only 9. Before becoming Bobby Brady, he had been acting since around age 7 and had done about 30 television commercials. Bobby was the youngest Brady boy, the mischievous, cute kid who always wanted Greg and Peter to see him as grown up. But in real life, Mike does not remember being a kid who dreamed of becoming an actor. He once said he did not grow up thinking, "This is what I want to do." The Brady Bunch made Mike a national face before age 10, but it also turned his childhood into filming schedules, lines, and public recognition. At 17, after graduating from high school, he left Los Angeles for Utah. He wanted to get away from agents, managers, Hollywood, and he just wanted to be a kid in the mountains. After that, he attended the University of Utah and met Kelly Wormuth, who later became his wife. The messiest part of his life came in his 20s. In 2026, Mike said he lived his childhood during his 20s because when he was little, he did not get to live that way. By then, he had a car money freedom and then went completely off track. He said plainly that he was fully off the rails. He also said it was lucky that back then people did not have high-definition camera phones in their pockets because if they had, those things might have destroyed his life. Alcohol became a real problem. Mike struggled with alcoholism when he was young. In 1997, he was arrested for drunk driving after his car rolled over near St. George, Utah. Police said his blood alcohol level was 0.26. At the time, he was working as the first assistant camera operator for the series Promised Land. That incident was no longer just a story about a former child star acting a little rebellious. It was a real breaking point with a rolled car, a DU, I charge, and a man forced to look at the way he was living. Mike married Kelly Wormuth in 1987. They have 2 sons, Scott, born in 1990, and Joe, born in 1993. Scott once played the younger version of his father in the 2000 movie Growing Up Brady. After acting, Mike did a lot of behind-the-camera work, including production assistant, camera assistant, and camera operator, before eventually moving into concrete work. He still has not cut ties with Brady. Mike appeared in a very Brady renovation showed up on The Masked Singer in 2022 with Barry Williams and Christopher Knight as part of the Mummies, and still meets fans at nostalgia events. This year, he is 66. Number 9, Susan Olsen as Cindy Brady. Do not let Cindy Brady's pigtails and smile fool you. Susan Olsen is the loudest ending of the main Brady cast. Susan was born in 1961. When The Brady Bunch premiered in 1969, she was only 8, and she played Cindy through all 5 seasons from 1969 to 1974. To viewers, Cindy was the adorable little kid. To Susan, it was also something she had to carry back to school. Every time a new episode aired, classmates could take whatever Cindy said or did on TV and use it to tease her. Cindy's lisp was real, and that very storyline gave the bullies one more reason to make fun of her. By puberty, Susan was praying for the Brady Bunch to be canceled. She was growing up feeling ugly and did not want all of America watching that stage of her life on television. When the show actually ended, she felt guilty. After that, she also disliked the music project by the younger Brady group made up of her Mike Lookinland and Eve Plum. At 18, she even felt the Brady Bunch was not a great thing to have on her resume, so she turned down shows like The Love Boat and Fantasy Island. Later on, Susan looked back at Brady more gently. She said she started to feel proud when she learned child psychologists used the Brady Bunch with children who had lived in abusive families because they needed to see an image of a safe family. After Brady, she worked in radio-made art, taught acting to children, married 2 times, and had 1 son. But the loudest part came in the modern era. In 2016, Susan was fired by LA Talk Radio after an incident involving anti-gay language aimed at actor Leona Cord-Whiting. In 2024, she said a Brady Bunch revival project was canceled because of her political views. A source from the project side said the reason was controversial comments and hateful remarks. This year, Susan is 65, and she is a very clear closing note for the main group. The Brady kids did grow up, and they were not always as clean, cute, or pleasant as viewers remember. Number 10. Allan Melvin as Sam Franklin. Allan did not grow up in front of the camera like the Brady kids. He did not have to carry the image of America's perfect father, mother, or child. In the Brady Bunch, he played Sam Franklin, the local butcher shop owner, and Alice Nelson's boyfriend. Sam did not live in the Brady house, but he made the world around that house feel more real. There was a shop, there were neighbors, there was adult dating, and there was life outside the living room. Allan Melvin was born in 1923 in Kansas City and grew up in New York. When the Brady Bunch premiered in 1969, he was 46. Sam the Butcher was only a supporting role, appearing far less than the main cast, but enough for Brady viewers to remember him as the cheerful man who often dropped by to see Alice. The difference is that Brady did not swallow his life. Before and after Sam Allan Melvin had a very wide television career. He was Corporal Henshaw in the Phil Silvers show, Barney Hefner in All in the Family, appeared many times in the Andy Griffith Show, and showed up in the Dick Van Dyke Show and Gomer Pyle USMC. He also voiced Magilla Gorilla and Bluto in Popeye. If we only remember Allan as Sam the Butcher, that means we are only remembering one small piece of him. That is the advantage of a professional supporting actor. Allan came in, did the role, and moved on. He did not have to represent the ideal family. He did not have the whole country watching him grow up week by week. He was not trapped by one role that locked down his private life. After so many stories about alcohol, drugs, depression, childhood pressure, and public controversy, Allan was more the kind of actor who worked steadily than a Hollywood tragedy. His private life was also more stable than many people in the main group. Allan was married to Amalia for 64 years. They had a daughter, Jennifer Hansen, and 1 grandchild. There were no major personal scandals widely recorded. For someone who went through more than 50 years of American television, that is an impressive detail. Allan was also a familiar face in commercials. He played Al the plumber in Liquid Plumber commercials for 15 years. So for many male viewers who grew up with TV in the 70s, he was not just Sam from the Brady House, he was the kind of face you saw in sitcoms, commercials, cartoons, and then again in reruns without immediately remembering his name. Allan Melvin died in 2008 in Los Angeles at age 84 from cancer. His legacy does not lie in one major lead role, but in dozens of steady supporting roles, very much in the spirit of classic American television show up, make the audience laugh, then make room for the next story. Number 11, Robbie Rist as Cousin Oliver. Robbie Rist only worked 6 weeks on the Brady Bunch, but American television made him carry the name Cousin Oliver for almost his whole life. He was not part of the original Brady cast. He did not grow up in that house from the first season. Robbie appeared at the end of season 5 when the Brady kids had gotten older and the series needed a new, younger face. In 1974, he was only 9, brought in to play Oliver Tyler Carol Brady's nephew. The character only appeared in the final 6 episodes, but the name Cousin Oliver later became the way people described an old sitcom trick, adding a new child when a show starts running out of steam. That was not an easy label. In 2025, Susan Olsen called Cousin Oliver the moment the Brady Bunch jumped the shark. Christopher Knight said the young cast had gotten older than the show's original idea. Barry Williams even said that when he saw Oliver walk through the door, he started looking for the exit. That sounds pretty harsh. If you forget one thing, Robbie Rist was just a kid who got a job. Barry himself also made it clear that Robbie in real life was not Cousin Oliver in the negative sense. He was a good guy. The cast liked him, and later they even invited him onto the podcast and other projects. Robbie also answered very directly he was not some intruder who came in to ruin what the Brady cast had built over 5 years. The network wanted to add a kid almost overnight. He worked 6 weeks, and then the show was still canceled. After Brady, Robbie did not disappear. He continued acting in The Mary Tyler Moore Show, Big John, Little John, and then made his film debut with Iron Eagle. Later, he built a very wide voice acting career. He voiced Michelangelo in the early 90s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series Stuffy, in Doc McStuffins' star in Balto, and Choji Akamichi in Naruto. He is also a musician, singer, guitarist, bassist, drummer, and music producer. With Sharknado, Robbie did not just play the bus driver. He also co-wrote the theme song and created several other pieces of music for the movie. But his working life was not smooth at all. He once went through about 10 years with almost no steady work, having to make music, produce audition demos, and do many small jobs to pay the bills. When Doc McStuffins came along, it was a real job that helped him stand more firmly. Robbie once joked bitterly that at one point he was afraid he had peaked at age 9. But later, he called Cousin Oliver a blessing because it was a 6-week job that people still bring up after 40, 50 years. This year, Robbie Rist is 62, still going to fan events, making music, doing voice work, and living with that strange label in a pretty peaceful way. There is something very strange about the Brady Bunch. On screen, it was the house where everything would be solved before the episode ended. The parents smiled, the kids learned a lesson, Alice walked in at just the right moment, and the Brady living room lit up again as if there had never been a single crack. But looking back at the cast after 57 years, we see a very different story. Not everyone who once lived in that house had a peaceful life. I want to know whose story hit you the hardest, and if the Brady Bunch was ever part of your childhood, share that memory in the comments. Do not forget to subscribe to Weird Movie Secrets, because there are still many old movies that seem peaceful on the surface, but behind them are stories that are anything but light.